2 of the winter, spring, whatever split it might be in the VCS, the first split of the year. They have different names all around the world. You know what it is. It's January. So for me, it's winter. With me today is Brackish. Hello, welcome to the stream. And we're right into draft, so you don't really have much time to introduce yourself, but let's just ignore some of the champions. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Brackish. Been around a little bit before. Don't need to worry about it too much, but yes, it is damn cold here in Europe, so very much feeling like winter here. What's not feeling like winter, however, is the draft, Yulway, as we get on into it. Obviously, Season 14, I'm still not entirely used to it yet, but, well, the teams seem to be hitting the ground running. Nocturne has been universally noted as kind of a problem alongside Vi, just because experimental hexplate is so damn good on those champions.
Yeah, Nocturne, even when it's not meta, it's meta in VCS, so
yeah,
you can
true.
probably deduce what's going on here when Nocturne is actually first picked all around the globe. Yeah, we saw one Nocturne game yesterday, very first game, I believe. It was... It didn't actually go super well, and we saw a really, really cool counter Nocturne strategy yesterday in LEC, I thought. The... game called again? Heretics game. Where they essentially drafted a comp Nocturne couldn't play against after 20 minutes. So
yeah,
I would really like...
Senna Seraphine laughs in your face when you try to dive in.
Yeah, and then also some counter dive in top lane as well. So I would really like to see those kind of compositions slowly creeping in with Nocturne on high priority. Definitely not the case in game number 1. But actually, game number 1, it just looks like we are still playing on the old season, isn't it? Like, all these champions are weirdly familiar.
This is kind of a thing that sometimes happens when you're on a new patch of teams will, instead of going crazy, just go, okay, well, there's new items, but we can still play our comfort champions. And a lot of the comfort champions are still very good. Varus, still incredibly strong. Azir, I don't think is ever going to fall out of the professional consciousness because of the breadth of things that he can offer to a team. The rest of the picks and bans have come through. I like to see the Relgon. She has been popping up as a really, really powerful jungle option. Of course, Cerberus have already picked the Poppy. It could go into top, could go into jungle. Very nice that they're leaving that flex all the way open till Red 5.
Yeah, and for all the viewers who might be coming from other leagues, watching some LEC, some LCK, I don't know, LPL has started yet, but maybe PCS over there. If you're wondering, why is there no Milio on my screen here? Where's the Lucian? Where's the Milio? Where's the Nami? Where are all the enchanters? Yeah, we don't do that here. Unfortunately, VCS supports have never learned how to play ranged champions, so it's Nautilus Leona all the way here. It's
yeah, for Jane, though.
That is pretty cool. It is one of the champions Jane is known for. Jane likes to play these kind of control champions. Let's put in be the main carry, and then Yoshino also, of course, one of the VCS top lane royalty players, a multi-time champion. So makes a lot of sense, and I like the setup from this team. Drakthar more of a carry jungler, Jane more supportive mid laner, and then Puddin and Yoshino can alternate in terms of carry capabilities. So we know about Team Flash. They've slowly but surely gotten better over the years, especially last year. We're not so sure about the other side, because Cerberus, yeah, we will talk about them in-game, but some of their players, it's a little bit of the reject tier people over there. So let's see what they can do in game number 1.
Well, they're still unproven, and of course this is the chance for all three heads to shout, no, we are not to be underestimated from the side of Cerberus. But as you're pointing out, I like the pairing of Jane and Drakthar, because Drakthar, we have seen beautiful, beautiful things out of him in previous years. And particularly with the TF, if we see, you know, the professional staple of building rapid fire cannon on TF, you can engage with point and click stuns from a range that is perhaps not even quite fair, and allow for Yoshino, for Puddin, for Drakthar to do some disgusting things to Cerberus.
Yeah, and speaking of doing disgusting things to Cerberus, there are a lot of grudge matches here on the first, on the Rift right now, because Team Flash actually kind of stole away Cerberus's main talent, coming from a long time ago when Artemis was still the main player on the Cerberus team. Won the titles with them. Puddin was already playing on the secondary team for Cerberus. The you know how Cerberus is a three-headed dog, right?
Oh, yes.
Do you know what the second team might be called? This three-headed dog kind of team? The Puppies.
Oh.
They actually had the second tier team named the Puppies, and Putin was the main star over there. So it's cool to see him now playing against this old team, competing against this team that kind of, I mean, brought him up and also denied him early entry into the league because they had Artemis, arguably the best ADC in the league. So Putin never really got a chance to play before Artemis left Cerberus.
And now he's got something to prove going up against his former team, as you say, Jane. And Drakthar going to step in, get a very early ward down on towards, trying to spot out where Ikigai will start out. And even if you start Putin, you know what, that's ballsy, stepping forwards when there's 3 members of Cerberus there, but nothing will end up coming of it. Zora just kind of happily chilling, I don't know, fishing in the river towards the bot side. Yoshina doing the same towards the top. And of course, beyond just the items, some of which I will undoubtedly goof up for the course of this broadcast, the map has changed a whole bunch as well, Yue.
Oh yeah, I think actually that's the much bigger part of the changes. Of course, new items are more exciting because you buy them every time you experiment with builds and so on. But in the end, they end up kind of evening out, right? People figure out an item build path. People like the items get nerfed and are more in line with what they were before. So I feel like the items are actually not the biggest change coming into the new season. I am especially focused always on the bot lane changes because I feel like those jungle changes really impacted how to play bot lane, especially from red side. We talked about this yesterday extensively. Let's see if we get another good example of what can happen to a red side bot lane if your jungler doesn't cover, even your mid laner sometimes has to do it. If you get dove, sometimes you just can't play the game anymore.
Sora and Puddin, the ones to hit level 2 first. They'll put a nice chunk of damage down onto Slows. Hal's got a biscuit in pocket. Try saying that 5 times fast. Will be able to keep himself topped up for the early duration of this lane. And of course, as the XP will end up aggregating to being pretty much identical. They just need to chill, wait till they catch up on the levels, and then they can look to try and trade on a more even footing.
Yesterday we saw quite a bit of Varus against Xayah as well, and it really looked like Xayah was struggling quite a bit in these lanes. Of course, Varus more range. As poke, Xayah can't really compete with him in terms of long range, whittling away at the HP bars. He might be able to lock him down, but Varus would have to overstep quite badly. So I expect Varus once again to dominate, and as we touched upon earlier, if your Varus is on blue side and you have a diveable enemy bot lane, which maybe they don't have because it's quite hard to dive Xayah and Leona together, but if they ever bring 4 people and this snowballs TF's way, Ash's way, I should say, because we have a TF in game. Very confusing. It could be over quite quickly. Xayah from behind on this kind of snowbally meta, especially through the grubs and stuff like that, and TF controlling the map. You don't really get to play the game.
No, and Puddin and Sora are still trying to put the heal in towards this lane because, as you say, the perennial weakness of Xayah is when she is outranged in lane. And, well, Varus does that for sure. However, Ikigai has found Drakthar in the jungle. Flash already forced into the Zenith Blade, and there is no way out for Drakthar. And First Blood secured by Ikigai.
Ikigai a little bit selfish there, also playing against his former team. Maybe a little bit of a grudge still running through his veins there, because that could have been a really nice out for Slows out of this lane phase and using a little bit of gold into the struggling Xayah and bringing her ahead of the curve. Of course, early jungle gold not bad, especially when the matchup is a little bit more volatile, like it seems to be here. Very, very nice collapse, of course, just flashing on top of him and securing or holding him in place with the W for long enough for Huba to catch up. Yeah. So apologies there. Confusing myself with all the vocals in his name, but it's you. Yeah,
and very greedy from Drakthar there, as we saw in the replay, trying to take her back, and Ikigai goes, "You have no right to be here," and we'll show him the door and also the grave. Drakthar, however, back onto the map quicker, means that he will be able to get in towards these first 3 Void Grubs. I don't know if Ikigai is going to be able to get here in time to contest. And of course, that means that in 5 minutes' time when they respawn, it's going to be very, very important for Ikigai to at least pick up 2 of those, because you really do not want to give that 5 grub buff being able to spawn Void Grubs whenever you're attacking turrets.
Also, the stacking true damage can really mount up to quite a lot. Played a practice tool game yesterday to experiment with the Udyr. Oh, never mind, no time for that.
Jane is going to be able to step away.
Super cool.
Yeah, no sweat whatsoever. And since Richard didn't burn the flash to try... I think if Richard had used the flash to scoop Jane directly away from his turret, rather than towards Ikigai and Huber, then that might have gone better for them. But that being the case, yeah, no summoners need to be burnt. Jane, of course, has got the unsealed spellbook, so can flip through those summoners right quick. Has, of course, hit level 6 as well. With Richard now down TP, down the Emperor's Divide, he could look to get out onto the map and make something happen.
Yeah, I think this is one of the classic cases of Azir matchups where you don't really aim for the kill on the first use of ultimate. This was super common back in the day when Azir Victor happened every game, right? Yeah, level 6, you instantly ult him, so you force his flash, and then the second time it's a secured kill. So I think Richard's aim here was actually to trade ultimate for flash, but he didn't really make it work, so now he still doesn't have the ultimate, and the flash is still available for Jane. So Jane is super safe in lane, he is chilling, he's even in CS, he even bought the extra security of early tenacity, so I think the window to kill Jane early on in this laning phase is kind of over now.
Yeah, I think it has completely faded away, and the bottom midline priority that Team Flash have been able to leverage thus far means that Drakthar just going to chill out in the river, casually killing off this first Drake of the game. Will be Hextech secured. That means that right now, Team Flash, yep, okay, there's no big gold lead, but objective-wise, they're sitting pretty.
Yeah, and of course, we do have to point out that the Azir changes really impacted his early game. He is a really weak champion before one item now. He relies heavily on the on-hit effect. Now that his W was changed to actually enable him to use on-hit effects, you kind of have to buy those. So he's not as strong of a champion as a threatening of a laning phase menace anymore. So maybe that also contributed to Jane playing it very cool. But in the end, still, buys a lot of time for Team Flash, and I want them...
I don't think you're in a good spot there.
It's Cassandra. Don't worry. He has 5,000 dashes. Flash.
So I honestly think Yoshino could have committed for that one pun. Opting not to go for the recall. Obviously doesn't have the TP available, so and might end up losing quite a lot if he were to reset there. And the grand scheme of things, when you're at a third health, especially if you're catching waves under turret, and especially since Yoshino does not have the ultimate. Oh no!
That's the flash. Well,
yep. That is the flash out of Jane. Richard, not able to get it initially, but it will be secured in the long run. Ikigai tries to get in to steal the blue buff.
You did so well, Jane. Why did you do that? Unfortunate. So now there's actually an opportunity to flash ultimate and get the kill. Especially... Oh, never mind. That is a beautiful combo.
And Hubar is deleted. That first kill onto the board for Team Flash. It was Sora that gets it, but... I mean... Kill's a kill at the end of the day. You don't necessarily need to be splitting hairs on it.
Yeah, and we do have to blame Huber a bit for laziness there, because he knows Puddin is level 6. I mean, he's literally level 7 now after this kill. So he was level 6 for quite a long time there, and he still gets walks up into the range of Varus ultimate. So, yeah, that's just... He gets level 7 before the play even starts. So this is just...
It's completely free set, by the way, because Sora is the one that lands the hook. It's not even a case of, oh, I accidentally ate a chain of corruption. Huber also burns the flash when he has absolutely no means of surviving. And meanwhile, second set of Void Grubs appear on the top side. Team Flash are already there with Yoshino and Drakthar. They will secure all 6 Void Grubs. So big touch of the Void Burn. Get those little Void Mites spawning when you attack those turrets.
I mean, they have 5. They're good to go. They don't really have to get the 6th as well. They would want to, but... It's not that important. They still get 5 of them.
Yeah, 5 out of 6 is that break point that you really feel happy when you're committing towards those early Void Grubs. And of course, we're already talking about Team Flash are still chilling in the objective department. They've got the first Drake. There's 2 minutes until the Cloud comes up, 4 minutes until Herald comes up. Looking forward to seeing some Tokyo Drift action when that objective gets taken.
And as we expected before the game started, in terms of power rankings, Cerberus is probably the last place team together with maybe Rainbow Warriors, which we saw yesterday. They've showed some good early games, but pretty horrible mid and late game execution. Cerberus is kind of in the same tier of teams. We don't really expect them to be around the top of the table, and Team Flash are a much more solid team and much more established players. Maybe not the top of the top, like the cream of the crop, maybe not the top echelon team, but they should be fighting for top 4. So Team Flash is definitely the heavy favorite coming into this game, and they do look more coordinated. There's much more just planned out plays between Drakthar, Yoshino, and Sora so far on the map. Just not even just lane play, just also movement around topside objective into Dragon, then back to the Grubs. Grouping up with Yoshino, who forces the summoners from Pun earlier on, so he has an easier way into the river. So I like this solid early macro play from Team Flash, showing their veterancy.
Yeah, and the mid game is really when these differences are going to start showing, because as we've seen, I mean, LEC is what comes to mind first. Never mind, Puddin.
Beautiful cleanse.
Is left alone, cleanses, flashes, does not find the wall. Out comes the ultimate. He gets stunned, but the cleanse will allow Slows to get out. Huber tanking at the tower just long enough for Cerberus to secure the kill, but they burned 3 ultimates and 2 flashes to secure that.
Yeah, they had to, because Puddin played it absolutely frame perfect there. Beautiful cleanse, insta flash on the tower, forces everyone to commit to the dive. And yes, Slows gets the kill, but he had to use ultimate and reposition his feathers and everything with another flash and a cleanse. So just beautifully done from Puddin. He unfortunately dies in the play, but so much time and so many summoners expended there. So Team Flash should be able to counter attack.
If there has ever been a definition of a good death in the Baus lexicon, that's it. You just made them burn absolutely everything they possibly could. We'll see this again as Puddin steps perfectly.
That is unbelievable. That cleanse is so crazy good.
Yeah, that was pixel perfect. That was by the frame hitting the cleanse onto.
You literally don't see a single frame of CC on him.
Nope. Meanwhile, Team Flash continuing their objective dominance. They're going to get in on towards this second Drake. Cerberus seem fairly content to leave it be. Of course, they can always wait until 3rd or 4th Drake to really look in towards fighting. And right now, especially, I think looking towards Herald might be the better play for Cerberus anyway, as if you want to have a 5 grub team and Rift Herald, like, say goodbye to your tier 1s.
I mean, that might be the case anyway, as the little grubs are spawning to help taking down the tower. Look at that DPS burn. It almost burned down the remaining 200, 300 HP on the tower. So it's quite a lot of damage there. It's those Void Grubs can snowball, and I feel like it's actually not the early game they impact the most.
Coming in from Jane, they're looking for their targets.
There's
no ultimate available still on Slows, and he will be taken down. Huber trying to clear out the wave as best he can, but I think he's simply going to be the next target. Flash not committing. Sora hits the wall, will get knocked up. He is so fortunate that the tower aggro was onto Jane instead. Sora does not get punished for what was a criminal hook.
Avert your eyes, everyone. This didn't happen. It was just a clean dive on
VCS,
Slows.
baby.
Nothing else. There was no follow-up play whatsoever. Both teams just stepped away. Agreed. Not fight. A little... Not actually got what they came for, Team Flash. I think they really wanted the first tower there. They do get the kill on the ADC and put him further behind, which obviously is great and a good outcome anyway, but not able to take down the tower because Richard arrived in time to help out his team. I wanted to go actually circle back a little bit to what Ikigai has done with the early advantage. Think back to the first blood. He actually chased down Drakthar with the help of Hugh. He got the first blood with 400 extra gold in his pocket. I thought he would try to invade Drakthar, try to put some pressure on him, maybe group up with his top laner, maybe even with Huber a little bit more, but he hasn't really done anything with that first kill and has just fallen further and further behind, lost every single objective on the map, so Ikigai struggling mightily against Drakthar.
Yeah, so almost as though the first blood didn't happen. Drakthar purely took it in stride. He died and was basically like, thanks for the reset, idiot. I'm going to go take the Void Grabs.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the Void Grabs, in their place, Shirley is now here, and Drakthar is maybe a bit overextended against the whole might of Cerberus.
Puddin's coming in, though. Now TP will be used by Richard to get to the play. And with that, Team Flash go, all right, we got the teleport. That is absolutely fine. We're okay with giving up the Rift Herald in this situation because Yoshino is in the bot lane. We'll be able to secure that first turret. And with the shove, it's going to be a little while before Pun can get there, so should be able to get a little bit of damage down onto the tier 2, and that's before Cerberus have been able to reset, been able to do anything on the map.
Yeah, this was not the greatest passage of play from Flash. They weren't decisive enough to really think their objective priority through, because Drakthar just tried to, kind of against the play, steal away the top lane objective once again. I mean, to be fair to him, it kind of worked. Well, they got top and bot side objective. This time a bit too greedy. They have to give up, actually leash this objective down to almost 4k HP, so they've made it easier for Cerberus. And in the meantime, Pun had already taken down the first tower, so they didn't even get the first tower gold for the bot lane turret for the cross map play. So losing out for the first time on the map play is Team Flash.
And I said that the mid game was going to be telling your way, and right now, Cerberus, they're only around 1,000 gold behind. They're behind on Drakes, sure. They are dealing with five grubs. The 5 grub buff, if you will. But they are not bleeding. They are not falling too far behind. And yes, okay, Pudding is huge. Does have a large CS advantage over Slows right now. But it's not to the point that this next Drake is unfightable when it comes up in 50 seconds.
And it's quite an important fight, and huge power spikes on the side of Cerberus. Yes, also on the side of Team Flash, but it's more important on the side of Team Cerberus because they didn't have these items before. Looking especially at Richard's 1 item plus boots, and then also Ikigai completing the Frozen Heart before the fight starts. That's quite important against so many attack speed champions. There they are.
Charge. Can they get the follow-up, though? Drakthar lurking towards the side, looking for the angle in Chain of Corruption. Will land onto Pun, but not really the person you're wanting to hit there. Shirley will simply return to the Void. Yoshino in the river did not bother engaging with that play at all. Will just secure the scuttle instead. Drakthar continuing to step forwards, perhaps foolishly so. There are several Cerberus members nearby.
And it looks like Cerberus has kind of done this too early. They could have waited 20 more seconds, because now they've ceded control entirely over the river. And remember, this is 3rd dragon. This is just not just like a dragon that doesn't matter. This brings them to Soul Point. Cerberus. This time their huge advantage in mid lane.
And they are now completely ill-positioned to fight this. We got the TPs now coming in, but does smell a little bit of panic. Jane drops down the ultimate, will join the rest of Team Flash, decides that the flank is not really going to be for him. The dragon down to 3k HP. Pun off towards the side here on his own. It will be secured by Ikigai, and Drakthar unable to get out. Pun now playing with the whole back line of Team Flash, not able to assassinate Puddin, and now the Cerberus will roar, jump forwards.
Yoshino?
A large chunk of damage, though. Yoshino jumps in. Slows will be able to, alongside Richard, take him down. And 3 members of Team Flash, they are able to get out. They don't bleed too much. It's only a first Drake for Cerberus, but that is a lot of pressure off of the red side now. There is no looming soul in 5 minutes' time.
Getting messier and messier, and let's take a look at this. Team Flash, they have better positioning on the in the river in general. They secured the scuttle crab before, but then kind of didn't fight for their position. Just let Cerberus wander into the river again, and suddenly they had to re-engage, which cost Drakthar his life for no reason, really. We see Yoshino actually at least securing 1 kill on Slows. It's a 2 for 2, great in terms of kills, I believe, but the big objective they came for, they couldn't secure. So Cerberus, after kind of fumbling the timing of their Rift Herald approach in mid lane, they still walk away with the dragon, completely equalize the dragon map state, Sorry. Yeah, okay, they're still 1k gold behind, but at 20 minutes, 1k gold is really... I think it's like a component item on one player, plus maybe a few bots or something, so 1k gold you can ignore for the most part. And 2 items stand now on Richard. He's out of the early game lull that Azir has in this season, so this Azir is now online after the early initial, the unfortunate event that happened in mid lane. Richard is now set up to be the carry of the game.
And now we're reaching that 20-minute mark, Yulway, which means buffs for everybody. We're in the Oprah show, and you get a red buff, and you get a red buff. Everybody gets a red buff when that gets picked up. The Voidborn buffs. I love that change. It's so nice. It's like, okay, I as the jungler get it, and I'm going to specifically try and give it to you, but if my support walks past red buff, they can accidentally take it as well. Yeah. None of that headache anymore.
Yeah, especially because some of the curves you have to go through a few hoops to actually avoid getting close to the red buff sometimes, so it's really annoying. I like the change as well. It also gives us more to flame pro player teams for, because sometimes they take the red buff at 1950. Like,
what are you doing?
At least
also taking... Gotta remember that also taking red buff when 3 of your teammates are dead. That is also...
Oh yeah, I saw that yesterday
a cardinal
as well.
sin.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It also means that there's yet more minor objectives on the map that you can almost say, because there is an actual tangible benefit to stealing away a blue buff post 20 minutes, because you are denying it from the entire enemy team and giving it to the entirety of yours.
A little bit of an approach here. Jane is coming in. Oh, Ikigai.
Bye-bye. Keeper's verdict will get that one away. Drakthar kicks onto Hubar. It does feel like the Leona is going to be the price that is paid for Cerberus. TP is coming in from Pun. They look like they want to still fight it. Richard is here as well. They're looking for the angle in, but Yoshino is the one taking most of the damage, and he's surviving pretty damn fine. The damage comes through Pun, dropping so low. The Ignite ticking the shield from the footwork will keep him alive. And at the end of an absolute scrap, it's only Hubar that went down.
What's up with the insane timings of counter skills in this game? First we had the cleanse, and now Ikigai with a perfectly timed ultimate to just shoot Jane away just as he arrived. He didn't even have time to use a single ability. He just arrived and whoop, flew out of there again.
Destiny? Nah.
So impressive.
Who is he?
We only do mechanics here. We have no idea what
only mechanics.
Going on. Yep.
Macro? What's that?
This is such a quintessential VCS game. Fun to watch, of
course.
It
does feel it. Oh, yeah. Looking across the items, though, I do want to harken in. Obviously, we have some of those new items showing up. The Sundered Sky picked up for Yoshino. Very, very strong. Gives a bunch of healing. Guaranteed crits on your first hit against a champion every 6 seconds. Means that... I mean, that's basically the reason why Yoshino has been so damn tanky, because if you can hit multiple enemies in a single fight, you are getting a big chunk of health back. Across the side, Pun. The Hollow Radiance. I'm trying to remember if that's the right one. Basically, correct, the magic resist version of Sunfire Cape.
I'm actually curious about this. I'm not sure how many games you have played, but yesterday I wondered why Casanti builds this item first against an AD opponent in top lane, an AD jungler, and an AD carry. It seems a bit weird to me that this was still the first item, even into Jack's Lee Sin top side. Do you have any idea why this is happening? It's just the combination with the Frozen Fist that really goes well, and you want the MR and 2-item power spike. That's kind of the only thing I can come up with, because it doesn't really make sense in terms of early game resistance.
That does strike me as a bit weird, yeah. I'm trying to compare the 2 items specifically, because I think stat-wise, there isn't a specific reason that Hollow Radiance would be out and out better. In fact, yeah, Sunfire Aegis is cheaper. However, it gives less health by 150, and there's also an extra 100% base health regen on Hollow Radiance.
Oh, so just better. Okay, yeah, that could just be the case.
For 100 gold, getting an extra 100, so you get less MR, but an extra 150 health and some health regen. That's not nothing. That is absolutely not something to sniff at.
Yeah. I was really curious yesterday because I saw it was an even more extreme example, because there was only one AP champion in the whole game, and they still built first item Hollow Radiance instead of Sunfire. I was like, this seems off. No armor on your item against double armor topside. Yeah.
I feel like that's a bug rather than a feature. I feel like that's something that perhaps future patches need to address because, yeah, that's not something that seems very logical to me.
Yeah.
Strakthar.
And honestly, just playing champions with MR or just against full AP teams as tanks just feels great. You have so many options.
The option, yes.
I think I played some tank in ARAM and it literally built 5 or 6 MR items and I still had things to choose from. It's incredible.
Yep. Huge fan of Hollow Radiance just as an item in general, but yeah, lots of tank items feel very, very good. You do feel like you're kind of... You really do actually, you know, there is actual choice systems in the game now for tanks. It's like, okay, you're playing against AP? Okay, well, that's crazy. Let's get, like, I don't know. I'll get, like, Force of Nature, and maybe I'll get, like, Abyssal Mask, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, but there are so many different options, even just for playing against AP, which is really great. Top laners are just going to be scuffling a bit. I don't think that there's anything to come out of this, because both are too tanky and have too much sustain. Yeah, but even just thinking about what kind of AP. Is it burst? Is it yes? Do I want a shield? Do I want consistent MR? But we have a Baron. Now started on Cerberus' side. Teleport coming in.
Ultimate's available for Jane. Hasn't used it just yet. Now following up onto Yoshino. Slows, trying to get away. It's going to be the primary target towards Richard, however. They are very, very split in their focus.
Oh, Drakthar!
Holds up the backline for so long. Will eventually drop down. Drakthar falling as well. Cerberus have lost Richard as Pun going to find the way forwards onto Jane. The stun will land. The chase down is coming. Pun off to the side doing a big chunk. Ikigai trying to get away. Jane going to drop the damage as well as a double kill for the TF, and Hubar, now the only member standing, has to flash away from the hook of Sora, and it looked so terrible for Team Flash, but in a flash, they turn it around and they'll take out 4.
Yeah, initially, after the slow survived the double committal onto him, it looked like they might be able to maybe turn around the fight.
What was strange was that Slows took a bunch of damage, and then Flash just went, no, we don't care about the Xayah, get the Azir.
Yeah, but it's essentially Slows is out of the fight. Even if he doesn't die, he can't really contribute to the fight anymore because it's he is almost full HP here, but he doesn't have anything still going for him. And now he gets exposed and he dies. He actually walks away, but he's out of the fight here. He doesn't die, but yeah, they fight without ADC and without APC, so it's on Pun now. And we all know K'Sante can be scary, but K'Sante is also not a tank if he sacrifices 85% of his tank stats. So he goes down rather quickly to a level 16 TF.
Yeah, Jane is kind of terrifying right now, doing a big chunk of damage, and of course, at this point, has now completed the rapid fire cannon. So, yeah, frankly unreasonable range stuns. Point and click coming out from this Twisted Fate.
Look at his tankiness.
Yeah. He's gone Rod of Ages, has got Lich Bane as well, so very tanky, doing a large chunk of damage, and something that we've accredited a lot of mages with in this Season 14 is that they're squishier but burstier. And Jane said no to all of that. It's like, I'm going to do a bunch more damage and be really tanky and have a 10 stack Medjay's to boot.
To be fair, he's also refusing to build Season 14 up. Makes sense. He's not building any of the new ones. It's all old school TF stuff. I think Roa had some
changes, if I recall. But it's, yes, no straight-up new items. In fact, not that many in general, as the Destiny will now come down. Sora taking a chunk, but Aftershock going to keep him decently healthy for a while. Will eventually drop down. Drakthar, Jane now joining in. Yoshino is currently pushing the bot inhibitor as Cerberus are trying to scrap in, pick up their second Drake of the game. They're going to be giving this one up.
No poppy ults.
Drakthar, he's still here. Could still look to go in. This is still sole potential for Team Flash. Hubar will drop, putting the damage in. Yoshino has already cleared out the bot lane inhibitor. Richard had to go and stop him, and now Cerberus on the run as the chase down comes.
They can win the game here, no?
Doing the Pun, trying to find the angle in. Yoshino gets in from the flank. Pun on the run. Will be able to stun up. Can Jane get the stun in? Only able to lock a red card, and Pun will be able to get away. It's a second Mountain Drake for Cerberus, but the base is now open off of Yoshino's roam.
Cool trade. We've seen so many trades for Dragon against Base yesterday already, and now once again Team Flash actually making use of the 5 grubs on the split push. I think that's one of the best changes they've done, enabling split pushing to be a thing in the late game again, because last season...
Better yet,
4 or 5
enabling
years
split
now.
pushing to be a thing without having Hullbreaker.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Hullbreaker, of course, Hullbreaker still exists, but it is not the hyper-toxic item it was before.
Also, Sora just looks goofy with this support item. Why is there a bubble around his head? This
Divine
diver
Opposition.
is just underwater permanently now. It's
there it is. Celestial Opposition, sorry. It's effectively the support item giving kind of Crown of the Shattered Queen effect. When you take incoming damage, it lingers for a couple of seconds and then pops off for you. So tank supports have very much been loving that item because you can go in and absorb a lot of the retaliation damage. Means that you can extend your usefulness a lot further throughout the fight. Ikigai, Huba, trying to find the damage in. The stun will not land onto Puddin, and he may just be free to open up. Stun's coming through from Jane, the front to back from Team Flash. Very strong. They can't get through Sora, as now drops the Destiny from Jane. Pun.
Where is he going?
Oh,
there he is.
Has gone to the other side of the red buff, but he is all on his own. He gets scooped up by Richard, is able to flash away as Yoshino taking a large chunk of the damage. Huba is down in the 4v5, slows Solo, does manage to survive and get on away. Pun, however, dropping low, has to get out of the all-out. I don't think it's going to matter in the slightest. Another double for Jane on the TF, and it will be Team Flash stepping away. The 2 remaining carries of Cerberus helpless to stop them taking the Baron.
Yeah, Team Flash showing their prowess in team fighting, and actually it was so nice to see exactly what you talked about with the support item in full action. Huba tried to engage on Sora, and he didn't have the item, I think. At least it looked like he didn't, because he dropped down to half HP before he even really landed, and Sora was still full HP, absorbing all the damage with the support item. Here you can see it again. Look at Huba and look at Sora, and the difference in HP. Even though they're both under fire. So, yeah, really effective itemization there from Sora, knowing what he wanted to do. And then this is already kind of doomed. You can see from all different angles people are coming in. It's a bit risky what Jane is doing, but he's tanky enough to survive. And Richard overly focuses on Jane. He just flashes out. And Richard can't DPS because he committed to the other side of the fight. So when he arrives, Isaiah is in trouble. And yes, they kill Yoshino, but it's just not enough DPS left to really do anything in the fight. And Team Flash will claim this huge teamfight victory.
And Yoshino basically did his job perfectly. It's like, his job is to command space. Doesn't really matter if he dies. If he survives, all the better. And he is very, very tanky at this point in the game with the Sundered Sky, Sterex Gauge, Wit's End that now gives Tenacity, by the way. Remember how that used to do that a few seasons ago? Yeah, they gave that back. And in fact, that's another change that I find really, really cool. Tenacity being buyable on items is a really nice thing to see. You don't just have to go, okay, well, I'll go Legend Tenacity and maybe build Merc Treads, and that's a day.
Like that. We wanted to snipe him so badly.
Nearly Ikabai, but we'll be able to survive that one. This Team Flash will try and push in. Siege in onto the remaining standing towers outside of Cerberus's base. Jane can basically shove in the wave on his own at this point. 7-0 with the Rabadons completed as well on this TF. I don't actually want to look at how much the goal difference between Jane and Richard is. Like, loaded dice as well. Going to be doing some work. An extra 1 to 6 gold on every single thing he kills.
Yeah, and then even
now dropping.
Super cheap effective itemization, so he's probably at like 700, 800 AP, even with one item going purely for the range extension. So a very cheap build, super effective, and he is going to hit like a truck. Not so much on the full tank pun. Yeah, but still, that was about a chunk of 1000 HP with 2 abilities, so can't really say anything bad about that either.
Oh, a little bit early on the cleanse from Puddin there as Cerberus are trying to find the engage angle. Destiny going to be activated. Jane looking for the chase angle. Pun so low. If Jane could potentially find the angle in, instead just going to TP down towards the Drake. Cerberus have been warded off. There is no Baron to take, and as the Baron will be wearing off from Team Flash. They will turn it into a Mountain Soul. It's about 10 minutes delayed by Cerberus taking those two, but they're not going to complain all that much, and that should be exactly what they need Yulway to close out this game.
Yeah, Team Flash now in a really strong position. It took them a little bit longer than maybe it needed to. Some sloppiness definitely still on the first game on the new year, to be expected. Teams shouldn't look perfect on the first day, because why would we watch the rest of the season then? So Flash coming in, strong early game, a little bit of a wobble in the mid game, and then quite strong in the team fighting department and late game execution in game number 1, again as the big favorites. Hopefully we see a few improvements in game number 2, maybe close out this sort of game after a good early game at Dragon Snowball in 10 minutes less than they needed this game.
As I was saying, conversely for Cerberus, this is not a doom and gloom game. Yes, they're losing, but they are losing pretty graciously. They are still swinging, they are still fighting, and at the end of the day, I don't think this is a game that you go back into the locker room and are, absolutely terrified about. I think this is very much a decent foundation for, as what we were saying, one of the on-paper weaker teams in the VCS right here. I feel like with this showing and, some slight tweaks, this is a team that can easily contest at least a solid position in the midfield.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like Team Flash is and Cerberus are fighting, especially in the team fights, on almost even footing, which is always good to see. To succeed, or at least be competitive in the VCS, you have to be on a certain level of mechanics, and some of the teams we've seen over the years that have performed badly were just not able to compete mechanically, and that doesn't really seem to be the case with Cerberus so far in this game. They have good interactions. Richard with some strong team fighting. Pun solo killing Yoshino or even forcing him out of the lane. Ikigai with a nice little initiative in the early game, so that's not something to worry about too much. Now it's mostly time to improve on coordination and objective coverage. I feel like their vision game hasn't been up to snuff so far.
There have been a couple of moments where, their vision could have been a lot better, and that is definitely the next step. As you said, that you must have this good mechanics to enter the VCS, and from there, you kind of need to, well, I'm going to have to say the M word, macro. It is something that we joke about being non-existent in the VCS, but it is something that you require. Yoshino trying to find the angle in towards Richard. Destiny been used by Jane, but instead of going towards the mid, going to use it towards the mid instead of towards saving Yoshino, as Pun will find Drakthar also. The dance continues. Baron is back up. Team Flash, they can step back. They can look to contest that, give Yoshino the freedom to push in. TP is available should an engage happen.
We can talk about the macro improvements over the last 2 years in the next early game, maybe, because I definitely disagree with that statement. But I feel like Team Flash has definitely shown us a little bit of a better understanding around the two main pits, especially of the two big objectives. Yoshino, this is dangerous. Can he kill Richard one-on-one?
Sundered Sky as well, going to be incredibly dangerous. The Sun Disc gets put down. I think that will dissuade Yoshino's aggression. But now, Richard, low health, no flash, is going to struggle to get involved in this Baron fight. Yoshino, without flash, is still going to be decently survivable. Huba flashes forward, is not able to find Drakthar, as the return hook will find onto Pun, but that's the one person
Pun.
you don't want to find, as Sora gets pulled over the wall. Ikigai is going low, going to have to flash away from the chain of corruption. Meanwhile, that turret did drop in the mid lane. Yoshino still threatening, still looking in. Pun on the run as Jane going to try and find that stun. The footwork will be able to keep him alive for a little while, as Puddin dropping low, has to flash away. Pun
what is happening?
Falling out from the ultimate as the Destiny gets procced from Jane, looking to find the angle. Slows is going to drop. Ikigai is going to drop. Meanwhile, Yoshino is still brawling
Where?
with Richard in the base. One Nexus turret drops. The second is going low as the rest of Team Flash will appear in the base. They don't have a wave right now. Sora might be tanky enough to just deal with it. Instead, they're going to try and threaten, try and ensure that Richard can't come off the fountain, but Huber has come back up. They're going to fall back for the Nexus, the inhibitor in the mid lane. And now, as two waves crash in, Huber, you're not going to be able to do all that much. Drakthar keeping Richard underneath the tower. The TP will come forwards. And just after the 40-minute mark, it wasn't the cleanest game of all time, Yulway, but it was assured, it was coordinated, and Team Flash will take game one.
Yeah, it took them a long time to close it out. The last team fight was more funny than anything else, I feel like. Oh, Sora's name
that was something.
Just realized Sora is actually officially called Sora with a lot of A's now, which is really funny if you know VCS lore, because there was a time where VCS players just added more and more letters because the online client, they had to make new accounts every time. They just added 5 or 6 more letters to their name. So Sora just decided to make his official name Sora, which is, yeah, I'm not sure if
I
he's
respect
playing
that.
it. Yep. But
I have much respect.
yeah, Flash gets over the line. A little bit more difficult maybe than they wanted it to be, but in the end still a dominant victory. Yes, it took 40 minutes, but they were never really in jeopardy of losing the game, I feel like. So even though it took a long time to close out the game, it wasn't really a back and forth game. They were still the dominant favorite team coming through, so that's really what you have to look back on with this game. Yes, it can be cleaner. Yes, the macro has to be improved. Yes, there were a few oversteps here and there, and a little bit of an int, especially when it comes to objective setup around the dragon. But in the end, Flash dominant and Flash victorious in game number 1. One more game for them to also start 2-0. We haven't seen a single series go to a 1-on-1 yet, which is unfortunate because we have this funny new rule. So I want to see Cerberus strike back, so we finally get to see our 1-on-1 to decide side selection for game number 3.
We will indeed see how that will pan out. Yeah, I really want to see a game 3 as well, because that would just be very funny. Would love to see the 1v1. Wait, I'm reading that rule set incorrectly. We'll get onto that one when we get back after this break, and we'll see you then.
Welcome back to our game number 2. We're not quite in the draft this time. We're actually on the master desk for the first time ever, I guess. So welcome. You can finally see us as well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And yeah, Brekish, what do you think about your first VCS game in a while? Quite the experience, no?
Yeah, it feels good to be back. There's a certain sort of comfortable, warm, slightly off-putting feeling about watching VCS. It's like, it's a nice meal that I haven't had in a long time, but I also remember just how unhealthy it is.
Yep, and we live on this all the time, so
we eating good. Yeah.
Apologize, the VCS regulars. We are all a little bit.
Ignore the fact that I'm existing in the void. You don't want to see what's back there. There's a lot of stuff. Got a lot of work going on in the house right now. A flurry of action occurring, and yeah, you'll not need to see that.
Very fair. Yeah, same here. That's why green screen all the time. Don't get to see my.
I forgot about that. I could have totally set that up.
Don't get to see my ever for reasons. Sensible. So back to the game. We have Flash kind of just delivering on their favorite role, but we also had some glimpses of hope, some nice little points of action. I really like the first blood play, the coordination between the jungler and support to just punish the over-aggressive invade from Drakthar. Unfortunately, then they didn't really follow up on that, so I guess we can start there. What can they draft to maybe double down on this jungle control, trying to maybe play around Drakthar's tendencies where he does like to overextend, and maybe they can get a win from this perspective. Do they have to go for a more aggressive jungler, or is Poppy the correct approach?
I kind of liked the Poppy because it makes Lee Sin's life so difficult. Stepfast presence and the heroic charges, you can interrupt so much of his movement that it's just really, really frustrating to play against. It's like, okay, you're going to try and engage on me. and I'm on low health, I can steadfast presence to nope your resonating strike. You're trying to get away from me, I can steadfast presence you trying to ward hop. And I think if Ikigai had been more confident in trying to pressure Drakthar, which I think is more of a problem towards the solo lanes than it was towards Ikigai himself, because Pun couldn't really get out of the lane against Yoshino, couldn't really do all that much because the Jax, for the most part, was trying to keep that wave out from the tower, try and make sure that Pun couldn't do stuff like that. And Richard, as well, as he said, Azir, very weak pre-first item, pretty much needs Nash's Tooth to be kind of a champion in the current state of the game, which meant that Ikigai didn't really have the means to really take the fight to Drakthar. And then we saw it that the priority that the solo lanes bought Team Flash meant that they were able to get 5 of the grubs, 3 early Drakes, and from there it was Ikigai was like, it could have been so good, but wasn't supported adequately to really take over the game.
We do have the draft on screen right now, so game number 2, Cerberus is on blue side. We don't get to see the double blue side, red side as yesterday in the first phase, where the Vikings chose to stay on blue side after losing the game. So this time Cerberus is gonna go to the other side, and let's see what their first pick priority will be. We had Varus first pick in game number 1, and Livid, but they banned away the Varus, so that's off the table. What kind of first pick could they go for? Ali is gone, Nocturne is gone, Ashe maybe? Ashe comes to mind, and some of the Eastern leagues, she has really high priority.
Yeah, I would like to see an Ashe. I wouldn't be immensely surprised to see Xayah again if Slows is just really, really comfortable on her, although I don't know if that necessarily warrants a first picking.
Oh, right, LeBlanc is open. Oh,
AD LeBlanc!
I never want to think
completely
about this
broken.
Horrible champion.
Yeah, completely broken by the introduction of the Voltaic Cyclo Sword. Who could have possibly guessed an item with an energized passive that charges faster when you're stealthed or dashing would be good for LeBlanc?
Speaking of the likes of Voltaic Cyclo Sword and stacking things, when are we going to see our first Senna? Maybe GAM is the team that could potentially bring us the Senna, because they are kind of the only team that really likes to follow global meta thinking in the VCS. They brought us the Senna, the Sona early on as well, so I'm not really expecting either of these teams to really show us the Seraphine Senna we saw a lot of times actually yesterday across the globe. So I don't really expect this to happen. Yes, VCS hates to play these champions, so instead we have Tristana, and Tristana paired with Rel. This could go into bot lane, but I want to see the Brand picked up in the jungle for Drakthar now, because we saw the Tristana-Brand combination. I'm a Brand jungle lover. I played this before it was even...
Oh, you're one of those people.
Yeah, I don't actually play it all that often, but it's so much fun. I like mages in the jungle. Zyra jungle is also really fun to play, but we finally get to see an Udyr.
I'm a Morgana jungle appreciator, but Brand is disgusting. I get that champion out of my games. When I play jungle, it has become a permaban for me. I cannot be dealing with it.
I haven't actually seen it in any of my games so far, but I do like it from before, so I would like to see it here. Yeah, I think we had one Brand back in the day from Loki, so it's a long time since we had the last Brand in the VCS, as far as I can remember. We do get to see the Udyr finally, really strong champion of course on this patch, and just full-on topside picks for Cerberus. So Flash can now eliminate some of the ADC option. They don't really have an ADC on their side either, unless they want to play bot lane Tristana. But
it's not the worst thing in the world, but I do think that Tristana makes sense for Jane here. Instead,
sure.
I want to see what this last ban coming out from Team Flash will be, because if the Xayah isn't banned, then I wouldn't be surprised to see Puddin pick that up, take it away from Slows after they played it in game 1. The Poppy will be denied away from the side of Team Flash, since Ikigai himself is going to opt for the Lee Sin this time around, which means that the early game is going to be significantly easier for this Lee Sin, not having that, again, that not necessarily counter pick, but just really frustrating to play against.
One champion that has been conspicuously absent from the VCS so far is Jin Zhao. He's so high priority over in the LEC. I'm not entirely sure about the LCK because zones and stuff, but I'm not entirely sure why we don't see any of the Jin Zhao here in this league, because Raktha, for example, is a really good Xin player, so maybe it's coming in here now. Pick number 4, maybe even 5.
He was the big, like, probably one of the biggest winners outside of the ones that consistently get banned, because Titanic Hydra, disgusting. You can build experimental hexplate, and I think some players have, but it's not as disgusting as you have seen on the likes of the Nocturne and the Vi, but very, very, very strong. And yeah, it's a big shock to me that VCS hasn't picked up on that yet.
There we go.
As we speak of it,
I know my
you did foretell it. Drakthar, okay, will be pulling out the Jin Zhao. Love to see it, which means that we can now expect the Rel for Sora, which means, I mean, I wouldn't actually hate Rel Tristana bot lane. I don't think we'll see it. Rel, there's plenty of other AD carries that she can be paired with just fine. But there is the offhand possibility of it.
Of course, the Vietnamese cow series strikes again. We can never go too long without seeing an Alistar, even if Alistar is utter trash. It's just the favorite champion of all the supports in the VCS. So
I think people remember back to the point where Alistar was like a true blue hard counter to Rel, and was like, oh, Rel just can't do anything in these lanes against an Alistar. That is not entirely true anymore. It's not a happy, like, you're not the happiest person in the world as a Rel player into Alistar, but because the Shattering Strike stun now exists, you can effectively hit confirm the crash down by landing a stun first.
Very last pick. Oh.
Zeri Rel? That's a strange combination. We've seen the LCK Classic already come out of Zeri Yumi, and I'm going to be very interested as to how Puddin executes this, because you think Zeri, you think Enchanter, make her as strong as possible, but that's just not present. That's just not present on this Team Flash.
Yeah, it's a really confusing pick to me. So just the fact that they have it Aphelios confirms to me that they're playing on hotfix. Otherwise, Aphelios would be high priority, like literally the strongest ADC in the game everywhere else. So they are probably playing on a nerfed version of Aphelios. All of the VCS players usually like to play Aphelios otherwise. The Zeri, yeah, last pick, bit confusing. Not entirely sure how Zeri... I mean, Zeri should fare really well late game into the likes of Udyr, just kiting him forever, and he will never be able to catch up to her. The laning phase is the concern. Puddin should be confident enough to make it through the laning phase against slows. Very, very likely the weakest ADC from start to finish in the league. So maybe there's a little bit of hubris, not the item, the actual thing, or whatever, ocean, coming in here for Puddin.
It's gonna suck for me because I use hubris as a term quite a lot. I'm just gonna have to every single time, like, but not the item though.
Yeah, exactly. I really like the item. The item though. I don't like the item. I like the term a lot. So yeah, it's League of Legends messing with casters. Have you seen the ability names for the new Dragon champion?
I am so tempted to become a Smolder one trick because
oh yeah, same. He looks amazing.
He looks so amazing, and also as someone whose childhood was Spyro the Dragon. Oh, Wiki guy immediately.
Speaking of dragons,
out pun. No
trouble.
Flash has the ghost ticking. Jane, few autos would do it. There's the jump forwards and a final auto. First blood for the Tristana, and that's Team Flash off to a literally flying start.
Yeah, maybe becoming a Dragon one trick is not the best to do if you judge of Pun's Dragon stance, just getting shut down instantly.
Nah, it's even if he comes out and is utter trash, I am still going to adore him because look, all right. Here's a super secret thing. I don't know if you've heard this before. Dragons are just cool.
Agreed.
They're just really cool your way.
No, I looked at this, at his abilities and also just how he looks. I don't mind his face too much. I know a lot of people hate his face. I don't.
It sort of. It triggered a weird, not uncanny response for me. But it's like, okay, there's a baby dragon with basically a human face. I like the model changes they made to like actually accentuate his draconic nature. And yeah, no. I mean, even if they hadn't changed it, I probably would have played it. Like, one of his voice lines just lives rent free in my head. Guess I didn't wind up in the tree again. When he respawns, is one of his voice lines. And also, of course, the fantastic "My mom works for Riot and she's gonna ban you."
Really?
a rare taunt that you can get.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I much love for that champ. When he comes out, I will play a whole bunch of him. But playing ADC is pain, so I don't actually think I will necessarily main him.
It is pain, but it's also, I don't know, I can't do anything else.
Pun.
An unfortunate reality.
Dude, I know you got first blooded, but man, chill.
Yeah, I mean, Pun has to play like this, right? If he plays defensively in lane, he's just gonna get abused by Yoshino, so he has to look for aggressive trades and walking up to Yoshino to get his fire, actually, the fire circle actually hitting him. Yeah, Udyr is a very strange champion, I feel like, in laning phase. It's just, it's kind of plays like Rumble, I feel like, just trying to get the AoE damage on the enemy champion and then get close to them.
Ooh, Hubar tries to go forward. Pulverize will stop Sora from putting too much damage back onto him.
He got out-traded by 2 level 1 champions because he... ability. Good start to the season of VCS being the Alistair League again.
Yep. Is Pun just going to dive? Is Pun just going to try and murder Yoshino under his own turret? He's trying to bounce on out. Drakthar is here in support as well, and Pun will have to relent on the pressure. But in the meantime, Ikigai has come into Drakthar's jungle. Might have a thing or two to say about this Xin Zhao having a chill early time. The knockups come through. The Conqueror is stacked for Drakthar. He could land the damage down. Ikigai gets left out to dry as Yoshino comes in for the support. In fact, doesn't end up doing anything. No. That was actually just a solo.
I mean, it was a solo because Drakthar wanted it to be a solo. That was personal. He could have just given the kill over to Yoshino, who was already on top of the enemy jungler, but he flash auto-attacked to secure the kill. Something is off today. I'm not entirely sure what's happening on the Rift, but it is entertaining, I suppose. Drakthar...
A little bit of ego checking.
Definitely a bit of ego going on there.
Meanwhile, Jane, of course, as the recipient of the first blood, gonna have a fairly chill time into Richard in the early lane, especially since until items come through. Oh, Windbeham's lightning actually hit onto Ikigai, even though Drakthar didn't know he was there.
Yeah, maybe that was actually the difference maker there. But Drakthar also is so deceptively tanky here. I mean, come on, Drakthar.
Bruh.
Oh, why?
Meanwhile, though, Puddin gets deleted.
Everything dies in the replay.
And Puddin dies as well. Okay, yeah, well, exactly. Yoshino went, well, that solo kill looked really cool from the 3 pixels I was from Ikigai's face. I want to get one too.
So, you need to know about the VCS lore. Here, we are now in the endless circle of replay deaths. So we're gonna replay the 2 solo kills on the 2 sides of the Rift, and then there's someone dying in the mid lane next. So we are never going to get out of this. The only way to get out of this situation is a tech pause, where we just skip 5 minutes of the game.
That was a good block by Sora. Unfortunately, not enough to stick around, and Puddin really overstepping his means there, trying to get the damage down. Slows. All he needs is 1 proc on the plasma to take that one down.
Mentioned the hubris to pick last pick Theory into the likes of Kai'Sa and lane. It really looks like Puddin is trying to put on a show here early on in the game already. He refuses to be knocked up though.
And Sora is just going to get deleted. There's the plasma proc coming through. Slows will rack up another one. We'll lose a couple of minions to the turret, but not going to lose any of the XP. And well, when you're picking up kills like this, don't think Cerberus are going to be too mad.
I mean, it's only 3 3 for 3 in terms of kills now on the map. But the bot lane is in big trouble. All 3 kills for Cerberus on the bot lane. Pun, you are not winning this at the moment, but maybe you are now.
It is, though. It didn't look great for him at first, but Yoshino on the run, forced to flash away. And that's what you've got to remember with these Udyr, is the longer the trade goes, the longer the fight goes, the more and more hurt Pun can put in, and the worse and worse the situation looks for his respective opponent. Yoshino, again, in the time when the Awaken, that little red bar that will fill up underneath the Udyr health bar, will stack up. Level 6 comes through. Yoshino gonna shove him back. There's no ghost for Pun, and no time for a Pun as he will drop.
Okay, can you explain to me again how Udyr wins these ones?
So there was a long trade that Pun did really well in.
I'm just messing with you.
And then he decided to stand and wait for Yoshino to hit level 6 and get scooped away from safety and die.
Oh, that was so stupid. Pun, come on. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're not the best look. Huber.
And Sora really does not know how to use his W either.
He's only level 3. Has to fly away. Has got the Hex Flash, but that's not that is a scant mercy when you had already taken 2 deaths. Slows is doing absolutely fantastically scaling into this early game.
Yeah, we have to cut them some slack. They haven't played this game competitively on stage for a long time now. Maybe it's time for dinner break because these plays are getting silly. I mean, come on, Sora. You have been exposed to this matchup so many times now, and you're still trying to W out of the combo, which doesn't work and actually puts you into such a precarious spot. Just wait for your W with your W till you got knocked up, and then use it to get away. Like, what is he doing? It's so simple.
What's not so simple is this mid lane, this top lane that we were talking about. I mean, evidently, clearly, right? Clearly, I was talking about Pun in a positive light, but it's never quite so simple as that because execution will come into be a factor.
Yeah, I think the frustrating. Oh, never mind.
Huber, in a little bit of trouble, is not quite able to get away from Jane. Jane gonna jump on out. However, the chase forwards from Richard and from Slows, not gonna quite be able to secure the kill. Health bars that low. I think Team Flash, if they wanted to take it, could secure the Drake right here. Drakthar, however, seems more content to just return to clearing.
Still feels like we are like half a minute behind the plays just because of all the replays, and we drop into the action and never have time to look at the setup for any of these plays. So somehow Team Flash was invading the enemy jungle and got a kill there, which is nice. Jane had to flash away though, so a little bit of resources. So what is going on? Hugh just caught a really aggressive invade by Jane and Drakthar. But yeah, both of their champions quite hard to take down, so nicely done. Jane walks away somehow. Sora this time around actually saving his mid laner. And now it's 5-3, but the gold lead isn't really anything to off. So Cerberus still strong point is bot lane, weak point is everywhere else maybe. Though top lane is doing fine individually just because Udyr is a disgusting champion that even 3 kills down can't one-on-one because it stands in the wave and fire and yeah, wave is gone.
Awkward time for Jane there. Had to respect the potential for Huber and Ikigai being there. We'll be able to try and crash the wave towards that mid lane turret. In fact, step out to get some slightly further in vision of that mid lane. And now, wait a sec.
Look at the items for Derry. He's building
that
late.
Bork?
That looks like a Blade first item. Is that normal?
I really couldn't say on this patch, but Bork has received some changes, and Pun might be in some trouble here, getting caught up. The wallop will land. Yoshino, you can't take too many turret hits, and here comes Jane. Will be the single auto beneficiary of the kill. Will get the plate to boot as well.
They are spoon-feeding him kills. My God, he got the first blood after setup. He's getting. He got the last last hits.
I don't blame them.
No,
after
it's nice.
the TF performance of Game 1, just let him carry you guys. It is a massive skill. I've always said this, that in solo queue, knowing how to be carried is a big skill. As we get a dive in towards the bot lane here, 4 members of Cerberus going to put the boot in. Sora, you are not surviving that. Somehow managing to miss the Void Seeker. It won't mean all that much in the grand scheme. 2 plates get picked up. Drakthar, however, should be able to pick up, I think that is a full 6 Void Grub stack for Team Flash. So they are sacrificing bot lane very hard, but their mid laner, Jane, just picked up the Kraken Slayer, is absolutely huge, and Yoshino not doing badly for himself either.
I like to the reference to knowing when you how you are carried, or how to be carried, because Putin and Sora are not putting in the work in that aspect. They are just disrespecting their opponents, just dying for no reason, and especially after these map changes. When you hear the announcer say that the enemy team has slain Dragon, you know your team just dove top lane, just run away from your turret. Like, with the new map changes, it's so easy to just corral you under the bot tower, and you're not tanky enough to get out of there, especially with level 5 Rel. So they should have just booked it after seeing the global announcement of the Dragon. Instead, they stayed on the tower, gave 2 kills over, and it's getting scary. The bot lane difference is really, really big. And yes, mid lane is strong. Mid lane is also an 80 carry, so you're not lacking the DPS. But still, Zeri will not contribute anything to this game for another, I don't know, 20 minutes. So, yeah, this is a lot of laziness coming in from bot lane for Team Flash, which is bad to see. Especially after game 1, they looked quite well coordinated and had a good game plan, but now their bot lane is just kind of inting like senselessly.
Yeah, they've been put towards the top side of the rift. In fact, no, they're trying to swap them away from Slows and Huber. Of course, Cerberus don't want that to happen. Pun gets a little bit of alone time with this bottom turret. Will be able to pick up a plate for himself before Pun arrives. And the gold, as you say, completely even as the catch towards the top side. Yoshino, after TPing top, Ikigai was there ready and waiting. We'll get that one picked up, locked down, and kills even. Gold near as damn it even. Either way, this is looking like Cerberus have very much got an angle in. Wow. Okay, bounce house. Bounce house for Yoshino.
Yeah, we thought the last game, especially after 20 minutes, was silly. This game is another level of silly. This is really just a little bit of degenerate gameplay. I'm not entirely sure if we're watching a pro play on our screen right now, because it's really just kind of senseless, aggressive solo queue plays all over the place. And honestly, in this game so far, Cerberus looks like the better team, at least when it comes to team play and knowing where to put their resources.
They are scrapping well. Pun able to clear out that wave under turret. They know that Team Flash, if they were to try and dive, Pun has so many means of keeping himself just at a health threshold that is not realistically burstable unless Team Flash want to send more people down here. They are looking for the angle in. Pun is again just able to step far enough out and get a little bit of healing off of hitting Sora. The tower will go down eventually, but meanwhile, towards the top side of the rift, first tower is secured by Slows, who was already absolutely huge, 303. Putting that extra gold into his pocket is worth way more than it would for putting having 3 people share all the gold bot side.
What are the next big objectives coming up? We have the Rifthold spawn right now, so Cerberus is already on top of that. Rifthold usually, it gives you about 1 turret. Last game they kind of fumbled their timing on the Rifthold, so let's see if they can use it more effectively to maybe buy some more time to get into the bottom river and contest the second dragon. They are the team with the dragon advantage this time, so snowballing Rifthold into dragon, into then having a little bit of a dragon advantage coming into the soul fight or soul territory could really be the avenue to victory for Cerberus. So I'm keeping close eyes on this path of play, or this just win condition. I'm not entirely sure if it's a win condition for their team. They can also just rely on their split push, because AD LeBlanc is such a toxic champion. And
Ikigai here towards the top side as well, as the root will land.
Oh!
Yoshino is able to land it, but this resonating strike will come through. Drakthar able to chase forwards. The healing from Ikigai is good, but not good enough.
That's
Richard
not your
gonna go
man.
back towards the turret. That ain't where you want to be, friend. And Jane will pick up another one. I think they were trying to donate it to Puddin, give this Zeri something, but Tristana's eaten well today.
At least Cerberus invests the time that some of their players die top lane to get the mid tower, so still opens up the dragon possibility. Giving gold over even more to Jane is, of course, not great, but in the end it might not be super consequential. They still get 1 kill back. Overall, it's just not a great play. We have to call it what it is. It's just way too far overextended into enemy territory. But then again, they got a cross-map objective, and they will get the second dragon as well. Ocean Soul now on the cards, and Cerberus still in a decent position to maybe force a Game 3 for the first time this season.
And again, it's all kind of looking in on towards slows, because dude is huge right now. He's got all the kills, has a huge amount of gold, already way on the way towards a second item completion. There it is, with the Terminus picked up, one of those awesome new items.
Ooh,
Light
second
and dark
item.
on respective auto attacks. But yeah, every other auto attack goes between giving you some extra armor and magic resist and giving you some extra armor and magic pen, stacking up to 5 times respectively. And
It's a very
gonna
confusing
make it.
item to me. Do you think it's a good item?
I like it. I like the design.
Yeah, I like the idea, but I'm not sure if it's actually effectively a good item.
In this situation, I think it's good for very good for slows, because the ability of Team Flash to effectively dive on him, unless Yoshino gets a crazy Gnar flank, should be relatively low, which means for the majority of these situations, I would expect slows to be able to get at least a couple of light stacks to get his resists up a little bit, just to make it so much harder that if after the sort of first time that the lines clash, if Team Flash then try to go further to commit onto slows, those extra resists will help keep him trucking for just that little bit longer.
Almost a little bit like an supportive ADC item, because he sets up the rest of his team maybe a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but it's not the highest damage output kind of item. It doesn't have crit, so it doesn't really go into multipliers. You can't really build... I mean, it's an on-hit item, but not the strongest on-hit effect, so...
Yeah.
It's a bit confusing to me where it fits into builds. And second item, I wouldn't have expected a second item Terminus. You see a trait across map, second turret against second turret, so that's all just accelerating the game for both sides. That's fine for the most part. Both teams kind of have to be wary of the enemy team over pushing for the inhibitor. Will we just trade inhibitors here?
It may well just be the case. Richard is doing what he can to try and clear out the wave. The Team Flash members will be able to step in and stop the push towards the top side. We look bot. TP now having to be burned on towards the bottom turret. Richard stepping forwards. Jane does get locked up, but the knockback from the Buster shot will mean that Pun cannot find his prey. And
Jane is a problem. Jane is becoming a big problem now to deal with for Cerberus, because their main counter pusher in Pun just can't deal with the Tristana. Look at his items and just think about what the champion does. Tristana is the perfect answer into Udyr, especially if she's so far ahead of the curve. If she gets a little bit of armor penetration, he's just gonna melt. So I feel like this could really be a huge issue, and I'm not sure if Richard has the power to withstand something like a Tristana all-in, especially if you look at her items now.
Yeah, not yet. Definitely not yet. We've got components towards a second item right now. I'm trying to think what this would even be. You've already got...
Yeah, the itemization of this game is funky. It's, he's building into another Noon Quiver item. I've never seen people build 2 Noon Quiver items on one champion.
Yeah.
It's a bit confusing. Dane is somewhere.
Somewhere amid that chaos is a Tristana dropping very, very low.
He's alive still.
Of Pun, but he is surviving as the shutdown comes through. Slows, gets taken down. The kill on a... Oh yeah, kills traded. Sorry, Puddin dies as well. Pun on the run away from Drakthar. The wind becomes lightning. Gonna wait. And the extra range on the Audacious Charge means Drakthar will lock that one down.
Okay, Riot, have another look at that interaction. That looked a bit clunky on all parts there. Fix Xin Zhao animations, please, because his auto attack got cancelled somehow. Then he still got the range to follow up, but let's ignore that. It's a huge swing for Team Flash. They are suddenly in control of the game again, because the enemy team overcommitted into a full lifesteal Tristana, and she just got so much value out of her Q lifestealing constantly to stay alive there. The enemy team just put way too many resources into killing her. Yeah, also Huber. Horrible performance on the Alistair. The whole game has been a little bit of a horror there. And Puddin gets to free fire, and yes, he only has 1.5 items, but if you let Zeri free fire for this long, she is gonna do a little bit of damage, gets a huge shutdown, puts him back into the game, and suddenly Team Flash, everything is going their way again.
So Drakthar actually willfully cancels the auto into Pun there because he knows he's about to hit the blast cone and just goes, all right, cool, I'll just wait because I have the extra range on Audacious Charge. Meanwhile, however, Cerberus going to try and right the moment to go before knocking down the Baron. Drakthar is not even here. It will be secured. They now need to run out. Yoshino trying to chase in, but you are miles away from the Meganar, my man. You should not be here. The knockbacks coming through. Cerberus still trying to run away. It feels like Huber will have to be the sacrificial cow in this scenario. Yoshino still looking forwards, about to go mega. Richard need to get away here, gets knocked into the wall. Sora following up as
Jane
well
is
with the
here.
Storm. Jane is here and opening up, everybody falling to pieces beneath the turrets. Jane still going forward, trying to put the damage onto Slows, but Slows turns it around. You had all of those auto attacks and the terminus is terminal for the Fed Tristana.
Oh my word. We had such a nice little macro play from Cerberus, then instantly marred by chaos again in the team fight. In the end, Cerberus, I feel like, still come out on top, especially with a huge 950 gold shutdown for Slows. This will propel him to a third item more quickly than the enemy team would have wanted. And 11 to 12 in kills, a little bit of a gold lead for Cerberus, and they do walk away with the Baron, which should give them a little bit of time to work on their map overall position, maybe set up the next dragon in their favor. But we are so far away from this game ending. This could go any way possible. There's no way to predict what is going to happen here. My eyes are constantly on Jane as the main carry, and now also on Slows on the other side. But yeah. I can't really fault Huber this time for engaging, because honestly it looked like Yoshino was inting, walking into them with Mininar, so I can kind of see what he was doing there. But then the map, they're just split up too much, and this looks horrible for Cerberus, and somehow Slow stays alive. Let's see if Jane... No! Come on. See if Jane cancelled an auto attack, because he must have cancelled an auto attack or been insanely unlucky on the crit count. 55% crit, I think, because he just didn't deal any damage to the enemy AD carry.
Yeah, they're trying to break into the base here. Huber is trying to run on out, is going to try and sacrifice his body for the good of the team as Drakthar gets taken down. Slows trying to put the damage in. Sora dropping Magnet Storm onto the Kaiser, is trying to get forwards, will get pulled back. Ikigai gets out. Slows not so lucky though. Richard gonna have to try and flee away. Puddin can chase if he wishes. Will end up relenting as Team Flash again punish. Bot lane inhibitor turret drops.
They got an inhibitor turret, yeah. So maybe mission successful. I don't know. I don't think it's really on their mind not to die for stuff. So maybe Cerberus got what they achieved the way they wanted.
I want to be able to see the items again soon. I was about to ask, like, we do not have the means to see that. Just
we haven't seen the items in like 5 minutes. I want to see what Puddin has been building, because I'm a bit scared to see some funky stuff in the inventory for the story here.
I mean, seeing on hit Kaiser is something that has not really been a thing for the longest time.
I think yesterday I saw an on-hit Kaiser, but more AP style in the LEC, one of the games. He built Nashers again.
More traditional Ashes style.
Yeah,
That's true. I always think of that as just AP Kaiser, but it is very true that there is the distinction. And here's the fight bot side.
Okay, yeah. I mean, good execution for me, guy, to just commit to the kill on the enemy jungler. But then it's just, once again, just walking up into melee range is a bit too scary, especially... Oh, never mind. No time for that.
Another fight breaking out. Yoshino already dead as Cerberus trying to make space for their third
Don't ask the items.
Hopefully we'll have a second to Cerberus. Still trying to zone out. Sora's shield gets broken from the Celestial opposition. Ward's going to be cleared out. If Team Flash want to step in towards this bot side jungle, they are going to have to do it blind.
This point, as Pun, do you just build full AP? I mean, you're never going to be tanky in this game anyway, right? So might as well do a bit of damage.
Yeah, the blue buff is being stolen away by slows as well. That will be secured by the tide of Cerberus. 4 seconds until Yoshino respawns. Dragthar, you can't get caught! You can't get caught like that! We're looking for a TP. There is Yoshino coming into the fray. Cerberus will peel back. Richard on the flank. Dragthar is already below half health. Has the heal coming forwards from the Sundered Sky as Huber trying to make space. Pun stepping forwards, but he's taking too much damage as Dragthar picks it up. Jane chasing forwards onto Richard. One more auto after the Buster Shot will do it.
Go, Jane!
And Team Flash... It's Jane being massive. Cerberus, they still want to fight this, it seems. They group up to try and make something happen. Tuba gets turned into burgers as Ikigai and Slows running on out of this one. Yoshino will simply throw a rock as a formality as the rest of his team peel back to take that second Drake.
Yeah, and all this just for a second Drake for Flash, so it doesn't actually advance the game state at all. It doesn't really do anything. It's just more gold. Oh, we have items. Okay, time to talk about items. Oh, I love this Zeri build.
Why
it's so
have you
funky.
built... Where is the Cyclosword? It's coming third. It must be third item. It has to be third item, surely.
Yeah, so she's just trying to stack up all the energized effects. Okay, we can talk about that later. Look, just... One second to look at Pun. Wow, he's useless. Holy
wait, hang on. Wait, Pun was there?
Yeah. Just stood there and insta-died. I wanted Jane to just go crazy and jump on top of Huber here and kill all of them, but he played it safe. He played it correctly. It was just not quite as exciting. He gets another kill here, and Jane is so insanely strong. As we have another fight, of course.
Another fight. Pun is already dropping. Cuba already super low. The engage in, however, will mean the death of Jane, but the rest of Team Flash is too strong. Dragthar charging forwards. Richard will drop. Ikigai able to get out. It may just be Team Flash shoving on in. The wave is a little ways away. Baron could be on the cards, but with 2 of the main damage carries down, I wonder if Team Flash are going to want to do it just yet.
It's going to take a while, but I think they can, because it's Xin Zhao just doesn't lose any HP doing Baron, so I think they should be fine. How did this all start? Just support on support action. Keep your eyes on Slows, because he didn't flash. Did he have an opportunity to flash here? Because he died with flash up. Slows is really struggling to output a lot of damage because of his short range. Yeah, I don't really think he had a good opportunity to flash to extend his the fight there. He could have saved himself, but that wouldn't really have done anything for his team, so actually kind of okay not to flash there. The Baron is going down slowly, but Ikigai's here.
He's already used the kick, flashes away. His Team Flash, their carries are back up. They will join the fray shortly. Instead, actually, they're sending Jane top lane. Large wave that does need to be cleared out. As long as Team Flash keep a presence in this river, then they'll be doing fine. Dragthar, Sundered Sky, healing, will be keeping himself healthy. Cerberus, they can't step in. Dragthar is too tanky, got too much sustain from the passive from the Sundered Sky. Then Team Flash will just start up the Baron once again. Jane is here. We can see Ikigai is miles away. They are not going to have any reasonable contest. Baron will be secured. The gold lead is still only 2k. In fact, not even 2k, 1.5k between these teams, and the gold has bounced back and forth like a metronome, almost timed.
Yeah, but it feels like you can feel the tides changing, and the Flash kind of rolling into gear as they get more and more assertive. Just instantly started the Baron and finished it on the spot. No hesitation whatsoever. So more of what we expected to see from this veteran team. And now in a strong position to hopefully do something in this game to maybe get closer to the Nexus. I'm not entirely sure what they can do. Maybe push mid lane and try to get an inhibitor there. A 30-minute mid lane inhibitor, not the greatest prize ever, but maybe the first step on the way. But we finally get to talk about a few items. What in the world is going on with the 2 ADC itemization?
Hexblade on the Zeri?
Hexblade Zeri is fun. I played this in a...
Yes.
I experimented with this
I heard about this. I like it, but 3 items completed obviously is still quite a ways behind slows, but as we've seen in these past fights, you pointed it out.
Full attack speed Zeri. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is a little bit... I mean, with all of the extra on-hit damage from the items, it's been doing decently well, but Slows unfortunately has not been able to have that much of an impact because he keeps walking forwards to auto in fights and getting caught in magnet storms.
Yeah, it's true. Both ADCs a little bit subdued here. It's more on the, I guess it's more Jane against, yeah, really just Jane against the world in terms of good performances in this game.
Unfortunately, yeah, Richard has just not felt like a factor.
I'm not sure. Yeah, Richard's build is not really it. Like
he has got the 3 items. He has got the Cyclo Sword.
It's all about his first hit, right? But he's not about team fighting. It seems like they're forced into team fights, or they're accepting the team fights when their mid laner is explicitly not built for team fighting. He wants to poke, wants to jump in, 2 auto attacks, 1 Q, jump out again. But instead he's forced to team fight, and this build just doesn't deal that much consistent damage. He doesn't have the crit multiplier. He doesn't have anything really to extend fights. He has attack speed and AD, so yeah. Sure, but not compared to any of the traditional ADCs. And now finally, Team Flash is stamping their authority on this game. 2 inhibitors taken.
There's a 3rd one waiting in the bot side if they want to go for it. They could look to take Soul Point as well. But at this point in the game, I don't think Team Flash needs a Soul buff. At this point, if they shove in the waves, it almost feels inevitable. The Baron is just about to tick off, though, so that 3rd inhibitor take would be quite a bit more difficult. They will just opt to pick up their 3rd Ocean Drake of the game, so passive healing is the name of the game, which means that the poke that Richard would be dealing is also that much worse because they're just regenning most of the damage.
Herman is now complete for Puddin, so yet another new item. He's really trying to double down on this on-hit attack speed Zeri style. It's just such an ugly line of items. I don't know, they do not look good together, but hopefully it does actually do. I'm also really, really confused looking at Jane's itemization. Now it finally makes sense, but he held off on one of the most broken items on this Champions for such a long time. I think he just completed the fault again, the crit item thingy that gives you ability haste. Navuri, of course. Yeah. Navuri is so insanely strong. Oh, never mind.
Oh, that is solid, though. Pretty tanky. Will end up going down, but again, the Magnet Storm doing a lot of work. Slows is completely zoned out of the fight. The takedown onto Pan. Huber will drop as well. Jane was not assassinatable. Drakthar is going hunting. Huber, you're gonna have to do something magical as Ikigai gets caught out towards the mid as well. And yeah, Huber.
Run. Oh, nice dodge. Okay.
Just want to wait for the Audacious Charge cooldown.
He's pretty fast.
Yeah, no. Wind Becomes Lightning will do the trick. And meanwhile, the rest of Team Flash have been shoving in towards the mid lane. They are without Sora right now, which means that they kind of need Yoshino to be in Mega to tank up the towers if they were to do that. Instead, they will just wait for the wave. Slows and Richard, it's not really all that much they can do. Their wave clear is not great. Richard gets utterly obliterated by the damage of Jane as the 2nd Nexus turret will drop, and Team Flash, they're going to go for their victory lap, pick up a couple more kills before closing out the game, closing out the series with a decisive 2-0. And Cerberus, there were moments that looked good, but marred by some questionable decision making. That is something, of course, that can be tuned out over the course of the split, but there's a particular pun moment that sticks in my mind as something you should not be seeing on a stage of this level.
Yeah, the second game, not quite as promising maybe as the first game. I mean, they still had some really nice showings individually, not so much as a team, say, in game number 2. Mostly the bot lane just completely running over Team Flash's bot lane, which is a good sign, because Team Flash's bot lane is supposed to be maybe not the greatest, but decent, with Puddin especially, putting in a lot of work. So, yeah, some hope for Slows, especially, who really struggled last year. He looked much better today, I have to say, so maybe something to build on, but Cerberus, as expected, not the strongest amongst all of them. So, yeah, it's kind of what we expected to see, but they have to learn. It's a learning experience for the most part. No one really thinks they're going to make the playoffs this spring, so learn, build your rookies, and maybe compete in the summer split. I think that's the main objective here for this new Cerberus team.
That's kind of the life cycle of teams, isn't it? You are trying to craft a team that works, that is synergistic on all levels, and you have to do a bit of mad science, a bit of tinkering to find that point, and then you can start ramping up that sort of exponential curve to success. And as you said, Cerberus, this is a very different team to the one that we have seen in previous years that has seen such success. And so it's only natural for them to have some jitters as they start out with this new roster. I don't think it's all doom and gloom for them, as I said. There were some moments where they did seem competitive, even being at some significant deficits. So if they can amplify those moments while taking away those silly mistakes that have marred these games, I can still, as I said, I think I can see this team sitting somewhere in the midfield quite comfortably. And if they can put on some serious growth this split, then I can definitely see them potentially contesting the upper table come summer.
Yeah, hopefully. You can only hope that some of the members on this team have already had big success, right? Pan is a VCS champion. Yes, it was the Mickey Mouse split when nothing really was to be taken super serious. It was a winter split, which never happened before, but he's still, on paper, he's a VCS champion. And Ikigai played a season, already had some good showings here and there. Richard already subbed in for one of the most legendary teams in the VCS over the course of the last few years. So all of them have had their short moments in the spotlight, let's say. But maybe they can extend those moments this year. That's all they can hope for. And obviously, a little bit of a rough start to their year, but they're in good company. If you think about Vikings, who lost yesterday 0-2, they had much bigger expectations. So technically, they're tied with the Vikings right now. So that's really, you have to look at the positive side. They've pushed Team Flash to 2 35-minute plus games. So they weren't blown out completely in the laning phase. So at least they can compete mechanically. They showed some good plays. And yeah, Cerberus, it's going to be a learning experience.
Yeah, and as you said, with the lower table teams, we've got Rainbow Warriors as well, who got 0-2'd yesterday. It's going to be very telling as the split goes on to see where these teams filter out to. I think if we're looking at the 8 teams we see right here, if I were to put like a hot take of it, I imagine to see Cerberus maybe at 6th. But, I mean,
aggressive. Maybe in summer. I can't really see it happening in spring, but they should aim for that kind of spot. Of course, you want to compete for players, but getting to players in VCS is maybe the hardest in any league, to be honest, because it's only 4 out of 8 teams, and you play double round robin best of 3, so there's not really room for upsets. You can't really just luck your way into players like you could back in the day when we had 8 teams in LEC and LCS, and it was just best of 1s, right? Because
I don't know if I'm reading this incorrectly, but it does say top 6 advance.
Oh, okay. Maybe they changed. Usually it's top 4 for spring and then top 6 for summer, but you never know. They change their formats a few times back and forth.
We'll see if Leaguepedia is telling lies. Yeah, if they're lying to me, then it's not
possibly,
me. Guys, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's just what I read.
If it's 6 teams, then that's actually really, really Cerberus can definitely aim for 6th place. Everyone can aim for 6th place. That's just 2 teams you have to be better than. So maybe that's the spot they want to look for. And there's definitely for in summer, make the players there and try to compete in Worlds with everything you have. That is the plan for almost every team on the globe. So I think it's a long process, and you shouldn't really judge this team just from one series at the very start of the year.
Oh, thank you, chat. They did confirm it for me. They have confirmed that the playoffs bracket is top 6 for this year. So that's a great thing for all of these more developing rosters to target for, because yeah, being able to have some extra games in the playoffs, even if they end up being relatively short, that's more games, that's more experience, and that's more stuff in general that you can use to, as you said, look for bigger successes come summer.
Personally, I hate it, but it's good for Cerberus, so let's see if they can make the best of it. 6 out of 8 teams after double round robin best of 3 is completely ridiculous to me, but that's beside the point. I think that's probably it for series number 1 today. We are going to be back with GAM against Wales, last series of the week. If you want to call it that, it's definitely, just for name value, the series of the week as well. And we're going to see the 2 teams that competed at Worlds and did us proud as a VCS, honestly, both of them. Show their faces, their new teams, their new ambitions for the first time this year. So stick around. I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to take. Yesterday was about a 20-minute break. Maybe it's a 30-minute break, but we should be back soon with GAM against Wales. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brackish, for helping out here, and get a good time with some VCS craziness.
Oh, yeah, it's great. VCS is always great for, warming the play-by-play muscles back up. I've only done a couple of casts again this year, so nice to get onto the VCS stage where it's all madness all the time. You gotta stay on your feet, stay on your toes. I'm kind of sad that I don't get to do GAM Wales, but unfortunately, the circumstances require that I be elsewhere. So,
you will see some decent macro, hopefully. These teams are actually the teams that have some macro, so it's not all just mechanics. We will see some semblances of macro next series, I hope. I mean, it's the first series of the year, so maybe not so much, but definitely Wales and GAM are the teams to look out for when it comes to that more sophisticated level of play. So see you all then, and have a good day for everyone who has to leave. Thank you again, Brackish, and you're out.
In a bit.